This is going to be episode 2 of the character broadsheets. Here we have our character broadsheets. We make references to characters past. We've invited characters from previous campaigns into the current runs, but with no context. The legends that many of these characters became would be lost to time. So I wanted to take the time to talk to each player about a character that they played, to keep their legends alive and to possibly hold their memories hostage so that way I can leverage them against the fresh faces of our adventurers. Especially this one. Currently, especially this one. Kaioken being the kind of MacGuffin, if you will, of this adventure that we're playing. And we've gotten to see a lot of Kaioken as he's been evolved, right? So before we get into Kaioken Fatebringer Koltah, the Brawn of the Breakers,
I wish I had that post-it note.
The love.
Where is it? The many titles.
Lover of
many
women.
Hats.
The
professional lover of
Bane.
ladies.
Yeah, that's it. All 9 of his other titles, which I can't think of off the top of my head because I'm not that important. Let's first talk about you, Dan, our group. I don't remember off the top of my head. Did you play with us in 2.0's campaign? I don't think you did.
No, I did not. I started in your campaign about halfway through. I think I joined in at level 8.
That sounds about right.
And I did the rookie mistake of just adding items to my inventory. I'm like, oh, this is just a blue. It can't be that good. Ring of Ram.
Yeah, very, very. Like this. Oh, this is just an open SRD of everything I can have.
Wow, right. Cool. So everyone's got things already. Well, maybe I'll just pick out some modest things.
So I think that might be, if my memory serves correct, I think that might be kind of incorrect. You played a half dragon in Kyle's campaign.
Okay, I was his foil NPC, but even before that, because I've been thinking about doing this interview with you.
Yeah.
I played D&D before all of this. My D&D cherry was broken at a party where I was nearly blacked out drunk off of Natty Light. And there was some actual hardcore stoner bros playing D&D in the room where they were no girls allowed, no distractions.
Oh, wow, you found the real neckbeards?
Yes. And I ended up
I've only heard legends.
Yes. And I needed to chill. I was not feeling good, so I went in there to just hang out and see what they were doing. I've heard of D&D at that point in high school, and this was my high school days. And I ended up playing a barbarian, and had a great axe. Yeah. And I remember them all right, so what's your character look like? And I was like, this guy, little did I know, is pretty much the iconic Wolfgar, right? But I want an axe. And I remember why I thought D&D was, of course, awkward. I'm already drunk. You guys are way nerdier than I thought you were. Everyone's passing around bongs and stuff. I can't keep up. You guys are hardcore, but you're nerdy. I don't get it. And I remember
I can't reconcile these two, party animal and nerd. It doesn't make sense.
Tectonic plates of emotions. But so I do remember getting my first natural 20, and I ended up killing a giant python. And the DM described what I did. I'm all right, I'm done. Next, oh, now we're gonna loot and do stuff. Nah, I'm gonna go party now. I'm cool.
I killed it. I'm done.
And the DM was
that was epic.
This isn't something you just leave. And well, all right, I'm done. That was my first experience. I was drunk. Dan's well, there's stuff to stack. I gotta go.
No shit. There's a kitchen that needs stacking. No shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my first D&D experience. Vaguely remember it, as you can expect. But I remember joining in with our current group, and you guys had already kind of been on your roll. The player dynamics were already kind of there. Everyone was like, the characters knew each other. And I remember asking, like, what would be a good first character and what does the party need? And collectively, it was like, well, we need a tank. And I'm like, all right, perfect. Is that easy? Right. Yes. And that's kind of where it started Kaioken's development.
And damage.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, I don't know if I'm trailing off, but
no.
Rein me back in if I need.
That's how it started. Was all right. Well, at least with our group, right? So fucking 6 years ago or whatever. Probably about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and so, when I remember, I was playing in my Harry Potter closet underneath the stairs,
right?
Behind, like, built a custom table in the Harry Potter closet with the water heater right behind me.
Yeah.
The tiniest chair I could find. Yes, I was able to fit that. I remember I had to disassemble my DX Racer and build it inside of the closet to.
Oh my god,
the chair was so uncomfortable. That's when I started. That's
no shit. I forgot all about that. So, goddamn. So okay, let's see. Day one of you playing, right, with our group, not day one of the stoners. Day one of you playing with our group. I can only assume that it was an awkward transition into, like, I'm being here, right?
Yes.
What did you think that we would then proceed to play nearly every single weekend for like 6 years?
Well, I had hoped for it, because when I had moved away from the Seattle area where you guys are, and like I had been working on the road, and I didn't really have any consistency as far as like friendships, except for when I'd come up and like stay with you guys. And I really missed that. And when I knew I was moving to Vancouver and I was going to start looking for work in Vancouver, I was like, well, shit, like I'm not, like, I don't want these friends to trail off like all of my other friends from high school and college and all that. And it was something that I knew you guys did. And it was like something I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, but I want to hang out. I want to, like, if they already have a committed time, I want to leech on that, and I want to like see them and be with them. And like starting, it was super awkward and quiet and weird and just absorbing everything that's happening and being completely confused, which is, learning the ropes of D&D.
Here's a trade secret. I was also awkward and quiet and completely confused, but I had to pretend.
Yes.
It was like, roll me a perception check.
Yeah.
I had no DCs in my head. Like, all right. I mean,
it fooled me. Like, still to this day, your games are one of the funnest experiences that I have. Awesome. I think it's more of like the creativity of the situations, and like you do just enough social dynamics to where it's like, I'm not like, I don't care about politics, you know what I mean? It keeps me engaged. Keeps me very engaged.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So same question that I posed to Josh. What is important to you about playing TTRPGs in general? Like, we've played a few different systems now, right? We've played Cyberpunk, we played Stars with a Number, we played D&D, we're about to play Pathfinder. You know what I mean?
So excited.
Like, when you think about us like getting together, we're gonna play whatever. Like, what psychs you up, and what gets you, like, what is it that you want to get out of the sessions?
I think I kind of already hit on that, but it's friend time. Like, we could be doing anything, and it's more or less, it's the times you spend with your friends are when you are winning whatever game you are playing.
That,
for me, that is what D&D is. And if you're having a good session with your friends, even in our worst sessions that lasted a year, I still had fun to a degree, because I was with my friends and we were at least all in the shit together, neck deep, you know what I mean? And we had our fun when it happened. But yeah, it's just time with friends. It's stepping outside of yourself. Also, that would be like number 2, and being able to like get into that comfortable space, because I feel like that's a muscle everyone learns to like use and flex, is forgetting who you are and pretending that you're someone else and using your imagination to see this world that is described in front of you. And as tropey as that is, like it's like
that's
reading
like the whole
a
thing,
choose your adventure book. It's amazing. If people could try that, I think they would all be hooked, honestly.
That's awesome. In session, I think I remember at session 0 that I had asked everybody to give me like some things that they wanted to do. You're the only person that actually did that. But what is something so far? We've done so many different things across all of our campaigns, right? Like adventure types, like boss monster, shit like that. What is something that you've wanted to do that you haven't gotten to yet?
I mean, there's a few things. One of the things currently that's happening that I'm really excited about is extra dimensional travel. You know what I mean? Like plane traveling, going to hell, going to the moon. That was so exciting because I don't know what the fuck like. I know a little bit about Spelljammer. I don't know what the like his magic. Like I don't know. That's the adventure where I am like, get your fucking your raccoon hat, because we're Mark Twain in this shit. We're going on
trailblazing. Yeah.
Yes, we are trailblazing, and figuring out things that you don't know, because at this point, after several years of playing, I feel like I have more of a meta understanding of like kind of what to expect if you go to a desert or a jungle.
Sure.
I want to go to the weird shit, you know what I mean? Like, and for me, like City of Brass sounds really exciting, because it's like you could just get adopted as a slave, then you got to get out of being a slave, and then you could actually like there's just so many things. There's so many things.
Slaves.
Maybe we could get slaves. That is really exciting to me. Being able to travel outside of the normality that people think that they know about a fantasy universe into a different plane.
Because D&D is very much a medieval, high fantasy, Tolkien. This is where you're going.
Yeah.
And then they have Planescape behind it, which is all of the big, great cosmology. And we never really get to
oh my gosh,
fuck with that too much. Yeah, that is
insane. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad. This seems like the perfect adventure then. The one that we're on currently, to go through hell.
That, and then also killing a flail snail, because I feel like because I know the reward would be, crafting a magical shield that you can resist magic with. Wow, crazy. But there's also, as you're killing it, you're faced with that social dilemma of like, it's screaming for help.
I'm just in my head, I hear the screaming goat sound.
Yes. I don't know why I want to do that so bad. It's partly for the item, but it's partly to be like, fuck, is Anthony gonna make me feel bad enough to let it fucking slink away? You know what I mean? Because I know you could probably do it. It's probably got like a little baby snail, halfling snail,
They're all just suction cup to its neck where you have to cut to kill it. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? Only time will tell. That's awesome. So one of the things that you have gotten to do, however, is you have gotten to resurrect a character, because we have Kaioken, which I mean, the current setting that we're on in my world is a little over a century, about a century and a half later from when we first saw Kaioken. So Kaioken Fatebringer Koltah, right? Mr. Snickenpants himself. What was the other one? He was a tall boy, I believe.
Very tall boy.
Yeah, very tall boy. We see him in my first campaign, coming in as his family had been, or his village had been attacked by this hobgoblin army, and he was left to survive. And wanted retribution. So that was how we introed Kaioken, right?
Correct.
how would you describe his story across the entirety of that campaign? Like, if you had to say this was Kaioken's story here, how would you describe that succinctly with like his what happened to Kaioken throughout that whole thing?
I feel like me as a player, one, like, I remember you asking me, like, all right, so what's his backstory? I'm like, I don't know. He's just a guy. Like, he's just a, what? And you're like, no, he's got to have something. I'm like, I don't think you're right about that, but sure, let's go into it. And I think I kind of just picked all of the, like, yeah, that's sure, fine, that one, pick A, pick A, you know, and we settled on like a trope of like, oh, your family's dead, you're a rogue, you know, kind of thing, and you want revenge to do this because that's where the party's actually currently going. I'm like, sure, I don't care, like, just try it. And but his story would probably be the Amish kid that gets caught up in like the excitement, you know what I mean? Like, the world is new, you know, because like, yes, because I didn't know anything about Goliaths. I didn't know anything about like I didn't know anything. So when I started them, it was just nothing. And as I've learned more about the Goliaths in general, like, how does that make sense for like what was his civilization like? And it's probably pretty secluded because they're like, in my mind, kind of almost like Spartan-esque, where they are trying to fight when they have to, and they will, and they'll go all out to do that, but they value lives and they value that, like, upraising their children and stuff. So they're not going to go do a fight. They would rather run away from a fight than blindly just go die if they think it's unwinnable. But them being dead, you know, like, anyways, I think that his story with the campaign was just to get retribution, and when he did, he's like, well, I don't have anything else to do. Like, you guys are my family now. Like, we've done so much, and continued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it. That is a one of the big questions about any retribution, any revenge story, right? Is like, what happens when you get revenge? And so after that, he kind of, to me, it would seem that Kaioken kind of like was able to relax and cut loose a little bit. He was like, okay, that's done. Now, how do I get him back? And initially the answer was, well, you don't. And he was like, all right, I guess we're gonna fucking party then, right? And then ultimately, with the way that the game was, he ended up getting the Ring of Three Wishes, figured out what you wanted to spend those on. The campaign ended before we had time to actually, like, on screen, if you will, like get all that to fruition. And then we did a nice little, like, writing it out. This is what he did. This is what happened. Happily ever after. But as with all good stories, it can't be happily ever after. So, after he was petrified, after he stayed as a statue, as a real stone man for like 100 years, maybe somewhere, around 100 years, we get to see him in the current Embers of Hope, right? So we see that, and it was a good, I think it was a good roleplay reason for you to be able to kind of tweak him how you wanted to. So what was your race class, or not your race class, your class multi-class combo this time around? Because I think you leaned heavily into Barbarian last time. Yes. And this time you wanted to change that up. Talk about the actual mechanical, what did you do for him this time around?
Well, partly was just because after, I think when I first decided to multi-class, I was like level 12, and it was all just because seeing spellcasters do magic and like, wow, that's cool. What would be a good fit? And Druid seemed like a good fit. My stats weren't the best for it, but this time around, I really wanted to lean more into the magic side and to be able to do the reality bending magic. So I was going to only go 4 levels in our current campaign, but I was like, I couldn't not go 5 for the extra attack when I don't do
Right.
It was the analysis paralysis options, which drove me to end up going 5.
Boy, that was a technical difficulty if I've ever fucking seen one. So you leaned into, you ended up going Barbarian 5 because, of course, if you're gonna go 4, there's options in D&D that, like, you know, you might as well, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
But the flavoring behind that, like, kind of changed. I think it changed Kaioken's personality, right? Like, you went from being rage monster, just punch first, ask questions later, to like a legit, like, you kind of filled him out to be more of an old man in this.
I tried to,
campaign, like a little bit more wizened with time, a little, like, not as quick to anger. The old what is that? Always ready for a fight, but never looking for one, right?
Right.
So, what would you say was the role that he filled in this party, in Embers of Hope campaign? Both mechanically and also, like, from a personality standpoint.
I feel like it was. I mean, he was still wearing many hats. You know, like, he wasn't the best at really anything. Like, he could hit hard, and he had some spells, but I kind of like to think of him as more as just, like, kind of utility. Like, he was, and that's where I wanted to, like, as soon as I got into higher level druid spells, I wanted to be able to have all the utility spells for breathing underwater for 24 hours. Who knows if we'll need that? If we do, it'll be great. You know,
I love that the day you got that, you were like, all right, guys, gather around. We're going to breathe underwater. I mean,
yes.
You know what? It fucking works.
I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, that's what I like, why I like druid spells so much, is because they're just weird. Like, they're different. They're not just fit the key in the hole. It's like, I don't know. Right. There's a bunch of strange ones.
Make a whole new key out of sand and wood. Yeah, 100%. I like that.
Yeah, I think I would probably say utility. He was just, like, kind of fill with what that current time group was when we had a cleric and a fighter and a paladin. It was a little bit more freeing because I could kind of coach Kexi, you know, not like coach, but, like, I could be right up there with her, but I could also do other things, you know, and it felt like, I just felt like I was trying to mentor, but, like, not be
overbearing,
pushy,
and not be like, let me show you how it's done. But yeah, definitely, I got that.
But I did kind of respect the fact that, like, people took that Kaioken's age into an account, and it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was towards me, it was towards Kaioken. Like, sometimes he would be asked for advice, and it was like, oh shit, why are you doing that? Oh,
why are you doing that, old man?
Yeah. And it kind of felt like I was actually falling into the role a little bit, and
that's awesome. I like that. What would you say is, like, a quirk of his? Like if you had to put, like, just something that you added that had no mechanical benefit, that likely didn't have much of a like a story-driven element to it, but was there anything that you kind of, like, not necessarily something that you put in on purpose, but that kind of became a thing of his?
Man, I feel like I did a few of them that just, like, weird little things, and some of them were not from my own fruition with the Black Dragon, but, like, that could have happened. But I felt like the introduction of the cooking skill really changed a part with his developing backstory, where I wanted to tell this story throughout. Why are you doing these weird things with food? It's like, well, you've never been starving. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm going to eat whatever I can because why not? You know, like,
Yeah, fuck it.
I'll eat a human leg. It's not a Goliath leg. It's not cannibalism, you know, that sort of thing.
Right.
Or,
You
you know,
gain
like,
powers.
maybe it's good, you know, and that's also a little bit of meta stuff. Or like, oh fuck, I'd rather, you know, let's find if it's poison. You know,
I mean, naturally. Yeah. There's no real good way to shoehorn in the eat things, gain powers, like
right. Yes, and that's where that in itself was fun for me, because I'm like, we're in the middle of a fight in a bazaar. There's food carts everywhere. I'm like, all right, everyone left, right? What's in that cart?
Can I get some of these sausages? Can I get some of these lobsters here real quick?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm like, oh, I'm like writing notes like lobster rolls, hot dogs. You know, like
how do I make lobster rolls in this?
Yes, exactly.
I do like the recurring. Are you going to be hungry later?
Yes. Yeah.
I gotta go back and I gotta scrub through everything to find, because you said that so many times, and of course, naturally, the most inopportune times. Like, well, are you gonna be hungry? Why the fuck are you doing that? That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's probably my answer right there.
So okay, so we got a druid barbarian chef who is looking for. Really, it was like. Kaioken was a good essay in what is the true information, like what is the truth, right? Because like with all the rest of your guys' characters, you guys are sort of plopped into this, like basically in the middle of this sort of like turf war, if you will. And Kaioken specifically had a like a reason to trust one group over the other group, only to have that kind of flipped on its head. And then was like, oh, hey, wait a minute. How does this work? Where would you have seen, if you had to call this like the perfect like hero story, where would you have seen his like motivations taking Kaioken? Like obviously he wanted to find his wife and his son. Obviously, right? And he kind of found them, but only for the briefest instant before they're gone.
Right.
Ideally, from that point, where would you have seen his story going? Would he have been like a tragic character, where like, oh, he found what's left, or would it truly have been like a everything is good now, and because you had briefly said about him being in his like, I got like 5 years left, let's be honest, right? And so like where, if you had your ideal ending to Kaioken's story, where would that have taken him?
Well, the roller coaster ride of trying to decide who was actually the bad guy and then realizing there were none was a part of Kaioken's maturity, where he knows he can't fuck up, because it's not just like when in his younger days he had nothing to live for, where he could let loose and, you know, die and it be like a good death, right? Now it's like he's got to hold his tongue, and he's got to make better decisions for the things that he cares about, because he knows he is racing against the clock. And
right.
And what I mean, I feel like this is kind of the best outcome, because I can have both in my mind. I don't know what will happen, but I already know the tragic things that are happening to him, in my mind at least, like Wolfgar, you know, any sort of, he's gonna be scarred. If the party ends up getting him out, he's going to be fucked up, and there's gonna be something that he needs to find to fix him from the trauma, and not just physical pain, but the mental what's the word, just scarring, really. Like Because I'm going with that same sort of Wolfgar trope where he's not only being killed every day, but he is being tricked into thinking that his life was like, oh, it's just a dream. Then he wakes up, things
Right.
start to like go bad around him, and then his wife dies and his kid dies, and then he's like all that kind of sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, and then all these different realities of him just being broken down. And when people do find him, he's gonna be a fucking monster. He's gonna be a feral fucking cat, like where he's
Yeah.
gonna attack and be crying the same time. You know what I mean? Like it's
Naturally.
it's gonna be a tragic story. But I think if he can realize the moment of what is actually happening, and maybe he'll be able to see it's not real, and maybe get some guidance or help from friends, or fuck it, if someone's got modified memory, that would be cool.
Right. Yeah.
No, that didn't happen. And then if I need a greater restoration, it's gone. And he's like, it wasn't real. It relapse.
For sure.
But I would like to think it could be a little bit of both. But I think, and ultimately, I'd like to see him get to the point where it's like the fighting is done and then he dies. Where it's like, because I think
Mission
if you go
accomplished.
into a relationship with an elf, and you're not a long-lived race, you already have had that conversation of where you're gonna live longer. So after that, don't be sad. Continue living. Find something. Live for something. And so I feel like that wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like everyone already knows that's gonna happen, or they already know that's gonna happen. But to not know if they are okay. If for whatever reason they get like a sending of like, hey, we're good, we're at like this farm, everything's awesome. He's like, oh great.
Okay.
Just fucking dies. Yeah. I
GTA
can stop.
wasted. Right.
Yes.
No shit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Well, only time will tell. We'll see what happens to Kaioken, if anything. If we get a chance to see what happens to Kaioken. So I know I had, for everybody's characters in between first campaign and second campaign, I know I have a one shot for every character that I wanted to do, right? Where I wanted to kind of like do an epilogue of what had happened. What's an adventure that you have in your head canon of something that he did that we didn't get to see?
Okay, so I've never thought about this, but my first instinct, based off of the little bit of like background lore I've thrown out with like him meeting his wife Rose and how they got together, is it would be awesome if there was a almost like Rambo-esque, like, so he knows all of the land around Mount Acerin, and so these people are trying to like kill this monster that's there, not knowing that I'm the new monster that's there. And so he's fucking booby trapping and like,
first blood running through the woods.
Yes, exactly. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
a chase, like a tower siege, that sort of thing would be actually pretty fun. And then that's go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe the quote, if I remember correctly, was and then you kiss and then you go but then you go back and you kiss again and then that's love. Yeah, okay. Right,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so I like that. I like the idea because he did have something that we get to touch on a little bit, was the loss of the Apex Predator gem that he had, the item which gave him domain over Mount Acerin, one of many biomes, if you will, and ones that could be collected to sort of like rule the natural world. We saw that he had lost in his prologue, that he had lost the amethyst that was allowing him to be king of the mountain, both figuratively and literally. And so that'd be good, using that information to run around and try to like 1v all fucking BR these wood elves that are trying to I think that'd be a good one shot. It'd be a really good one shot. So obviously we know that Kaioken is the MacGuffin of this current adventure, right? Obviously. Beyond that, right? Like what I asked Josh, you can always take that character. That character is obviously yours. You could take the character and say, that didn't happen. Plop. Put him into Cyberpunk. You could put him into Stars of the Number. You could put him into the World of a Through. You could put him into Pathfinder if you wanted to, right? Would you play him if you didn't get the resolution from this campaign as to what happened? Or do you think you would put him away?
I don't know. I think personally I need to have closure on my first character to like I think not regrettably, but like I almost kind of wish I didn't pick him back up, because he could have lived happily ever after, right? But it was the character I started with you, and I never felt like I actually like played him how I wanted to, because most of the times in combat I run up, I attack. Barbarians are boring at later levels.
There was one time where you summoned 8 wolves.
Yes, there was one time I summoned 8 wolves.
But sorry, not to derail. Do you remember that in campaign 1?
Yes.
The one time that you summoned the 8 wolves. And it pissed me off.
I know, and that's why I never did it again, because it slowed down so much shit, and it was just like, well, so I mean, and that's why I always stuck to the cave bear. I'll do one cave bear.
Right. That makes sense.
And because
in the church,
it was that, yes, because it was the, as I remember, it was just like I could feel it. It's like everyone's like, oh, now there's more turns, now blah blah blah. I'm like, all right, well, that's why Matthew Mercer hates summoners. Like,
again,
because it's
I'll let you do it, but you deal with it. Like you felt out the room in that particular instance. Yes. Again, I know we're on a side tangent, but you felt out the room. You saw, you were like, okay, this is not something I should be doing, because I just watched the momentum get sucked out of everybody.
Yes.
And, and at least you're able to read the room, because 17 undead are just as bad, if not worse, as 8 wolves. But,
yes.
So I mean, like, but with the question. So okay, so you want potentially to get closure, whatever that means for Kaioken in this current campaign, right?
I mean, eventually, like, I will probably not pick him back up if it happens. Like, if we have right now because I was ready to like move on from Kaioken, like, all right, he died, right? But when Amanda said Celia Mason is coming back, that was her Amanda's plan. I'm getting emotional right now. Like, I was so excited for that, because I was like, well, that would be cool that I get my old party back in some way or another.
So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance, and I think the dynamic between her and I moving forward, and when John Ritter maybe does come back, that there will be, I'm playing campaign 1 again, where it's in a different DLC. But I thought that was really moving for me to hear that it wasn't just like, Kaioken's important to not just me,
Right.
So that felt good.
And it's very, very true.
But if we got the boys back in town, I want to keep going. Like, maybe I gotta find some immortality with my cooking skills. I don't know. Get another year for every, like.
If you didn't get far enough in Druid last time, maybe you can get far enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I can't. I gotta be level 20 to be an Archdruid.
Like, understandably, the road from which this campaign is being written is definitely littered with headstones so far.
Yep.
No,
It
no
is.
lie about that on all fronts. But it's like I always say, death is rarely ever the end in D&D.
Mm-hmm.
You can if you can come up with a reason that's even loosely good enough for why this character ought to have come back or what have you. We're only limited by our creativity and our imagination. That's awesome. Is there anything else about Kaioken that you've wanted to get off of your chest? Whether that be anything that you wish you would have done with him differently, anything that you did do that you were like, how did you guys not know? You know, is there anything that you were like, this is what I was trying to do with Kaioken that you didn't get a chance to get off your chest?
I'm sure there is something. I just can't think of it because I feel like I've been pretty good with like my pushy lore dumps. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like with the when I push the romance of between Kexi and Deus, just to puke my nonsense in there, honestly. And
Had the makings of a good side plot.
yes, and no, I mean, the only thing I probably would have wanted to go into deeper was like his culture a little bit more with um why things were hard and why he would eat whatever, because like when he was a kid they basically would like give them the best cuts of meat, you know, and they would always eat, but the people that went out to hunt or to climb the mountain or, you know, trailblaze or go fight if need be, those ones were the actual like starving, hurt, you know, whatever, but they knew their future generation mattered more than their own life. And so when they inevitably died to the Molduck Yeti, um, that his grandfather was the first person that he saw to do that for him when he was a young child, when he was probably like 15 or so, when he was like just
Right.
starting to hunt, go out with his grandfather and his dad and be a disappointment and to struggle and to find like the reason why he was eating was to go do this, and now he's not eating, and now this new problem arises, and the first person to lay their life down on like, you know, epic mountain slide, you know, everyone's fucking sliding down the mountain while, you know, grandfather, you know, throws his fucking bear pelt to me to keep him warm, to keep me warm, and like, you know, he doesn't see him, but he's like holding off all these people. Like that's, I wanted to go into, that's why I eat all the weird things. That's why I am the way that I am, because like I'm gonna feed you guys. I'll eat the weird stuff and find out if it's good or not. Troll dick is just fine, trust me.
Dude, that actually changes so much about Kaioken in that context.
Yeah,
Of like,
and that's why I like
from the bottom. That whole...
the development of, I didn't know who he was, and the more I learn about the race or the culture or their and this is just Far Realms stuff that I have a tab on that, but I can find reasons to why it makes sense, and especially when the cooking gets brought in, there's a whole new element of this is why it's important to him, because one, maybe his wife taught him. Maybe it's he's realized with his bachelor stuff that, you know, eating fucking mushrooms 1 out of 3, you're shitting your brains out, you know, something like that. But that's there's a lot.
What do you mean?
Yeah, right. But yeah, I'd probably say that.
That's awesome. Well, who knows, man? It's entirely possible that you may still get a chance to have this closure. When you're dealing with the Lord of Lies, who knows what is the truth, you know? I can only hope that that the party that is being hired to save you can accomplish their goal. Which, of course, we will only ever be able to know based off of the history of where we are coming from. And to find that out, you have to check the character broadsheets. Oh shit, that was clean.